what the future impact on job growth might be due to the coronavirus. Back to the president now, using this report to just, try to calm people down, especially in the markets. Watch.
Job numbers just came out a little while ago, and they were shocking to the people that were analyzing them.
Do you expect more gyrations?
No, I think a lot of people are staying here, and they're going to be doing their business here. They're going to be traveling here, and they'll be going to resorts here, and, we have a great place. That's where, so foreign people come, but we're going to have Americans staying home instead of going and spending their money in other countries.
We bring this to Real Clear Markets editor John Tamny, who joins us along with Walser Wealth Management CEO Rebecca Walser. John, I'll start with you because you almost always have some sort of contrarian take on economics or politics, and I'm hoping maybe today's one of those days we could probably use it. What's your view on things?
Well, my view on things is that hopefully they do less than nothing. Let's remember that economic growth is a consequence of investment. And so if you're going to boost investment, you don't do that by taking precious money out of the economy and politicizing its direction. What you do is reduce the cost of investing. You seek a stronger, more stable dollar. It's dangerous to me when I hear politicians talking about quick spending increases from the government or anything or targeted stimulus. Government cannot stimulate economic growth. Only people can do that. And so reduce the barriers to production, leave the government out of it.
So, Rebecca, what's your view? John obviously referring to the Larry Kudlow comments that were made to Stuart Varney, among others, this morning, but when he was on our network, Kudlow said that the White House is indeed looking at, quote, timely and targeted micro approach. They might help some people out who are stuck at home. They might give money to small business. Maybe they would look at temporary assistance for some sectors. Targeted. He kept coming back to that. But John says, no, bad idea. What's your view?
No dropping $150 billion from an airplane.
The helicopter deal?
Helicopter money. No helicopter money. It's sad because normally we would have had almost 100,000 more jobs than expected. We would be celebrating, right? But obviously it's not the case because we're dealing with this coronavirus and we're thinking that it's going to impact continually supply chains and earnings and all these things. I'm not a big one for government intervention, but like, for example, this week with the Federal Reserve surprisingly cutting 50 basis points, having the 10-year yield sub 0.8% for the first time ever is not heartening. The flight to safety is paying you what? And that's the scary thing. And so, I think that we all just need to take a deep breath and give it time. And I think that we're having a bad day on Friday because we're expecting the cases and all of the escalations of deaths and cases like we've had all these last couple of weekends to happen again this weekend. And so Friday's forward looking, thinking, we're just going to get nothing but bad news this weekend. And so we're going to discount the markets again. And we just all need to take a deep breath and, realize that what's really positive, Connell, is that in China and South Korea they both are in decline. The rate of the virus spreading is in decline. And so we're starting to see somewhat of a return to business as normal as much as possible to some extent. And that's really when we get to that point in America, that's when we're going to have a really ability to assess the damage and try to get to resume to a normal life.
I guess, John, is it fair to model what's going on in Asia, especially in China, as, timetable-wise, what we're going to go through here? And, maybe it won't even be as bad. And Rebecca's right that the numbers have, if we believe them, started to turn over there. What do you say?
Yeah, I don't even think we need to model it based on that because that's another country. That's where the virus came about. I think the important thing is to relax. Let's remember, in the 20th century, we proved that central planning doesn't work. And so let's not presume that just because there's a scare out there that suddenly it works when we're scared. Right. And so let's not rely on the government to pick winners and losers at a time when government could do best by just stepping back. And same thing with this. What can the Fed do? People borrow money for what it can be exchanged for. So what on earth would a 50 basis point cut have to do with increasing credit? Increased credit in the economy is a consequence of production. So get out of the way of producers, reduce the burdens restrictions on those who have the most to invest so that people can produce more, and stop pretending that government is necessary during crises. It just fans crises. It does not deter them.
And even if you think, by the way, that it was necessary at 08, which I won't really relitigate that now at the moment, but as Kudlow rightly pointed out, this is much different, Rebecca, than what we went through in 2008. So whether you supported or didn't, some sort of a bailout then probably wouldn't apply now. I'll give you the last word before we take a break, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Oh, well, literally the last word. The camera cut out on us. So how about that, John? Not an ominous sign for Rebecca Walser. Don't read into, I'm sure you will. Go ahead real quick, and then we do have to get that break in. Go ahead, John.
Well, again, I think if you look back to 2008, if there are no bailouts, if there are no interventions, there is no crisis. There was not a financial crisis back then. There was a crisis of government getting in the way and trying to pick winners at a time when it should step back. Don't make the mistake again.
Fair enough. Good to see you. And you're still there on the camera. Boy, that's something. Was it something I said? You know, we could use a laugh
Lucky
right the
for
way
the
things are
viewers.
going. Thank you, John. John Tamny with us, along with, well, Rebecca Walser at one point, right?